Now, there's no doubt about it that by far one of the most impressive Star Wars experiences, at least in my opinion, by John and Dave, as well as Peyton Reed, was the return of Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian Season 2 finale. And ever since then, a lot of fans have begun to realize that John and Dave are the guys to handle Luke Skywalker, as well as Peyton Reed, by the way. He directed that episode. And a lot of people just have full faith in John and Dave's work on Luke's future. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and let's get right into exactly what's going on here. Now, what's really interesting is that ever since The Last Jedi debuted back in 2017 by Rian Johnson, it really left the fans divided. When Luke Skywalker was killed off, and he was killed off in a way that fans really just disagreed with. The Force projection technique, aka the doppelganger technique. And in that scenario, it really left a lot of fans very angry with why Kathleen Kennedy approved that by Rian Johnson and how this was a Johnson idea. However, jumping ahead to where we are today in 2023, there's a lot of things going on right now to remedy the whole situation of Luke Skywalker and his death in the sequel trilogy. And a lot of this is being controlled by John, Dave, and the Disney executives. So let's get right into exactly what's progressing here and what's really going on. Now, with that being all put out there and said, alright, with, of course, Disney and Lucasfilm beginning to create different strategies to win back the lost fans. One of the big moves that is developing smoothly is their plan to reverse the death of Luke Skywalker. Now, this plan of theirs is said to be fully established in the upcoming post-Episode 9 series, in which Mark Hamill has reportedly signed on to the return of the role of Luke in a very big, unexpected way for the audience. Now, via the storyboard illustrations and their descriptions, a big plan to reverse Luke's death is now in full effect that is going to use a special power via the Wills, who are godlike beings. Now, this decision is said to be something that a lot of fans are going to agree on and disagree on, or hate and love, where John and Dave pitched this idea or this concept of a force power to the executives called Dimension Essence. It's a power that Luke is planned to use to aid the new Jedi Order from one of the new villains that combines the usage of the world between worlds, the Netherworld, and the Wills. Now, the overall concept created by both Favreau and Filoni as an alternative that is now moving ahead in full swing is set to allow a Force Ghost to use the WBW to enter into his past self and control that point in his or her life where they were alive, transporting that vessel into the present and/or current dimension. Now, let me just stop right here for 1 second. This is, in my opinion, a little complex for the casual fan to understand, and it might very well even confuse a lot of people out there. Now, the reason why John and Dave are embracing this idea instead of the other idea that's a backup plan where a Force Ghost just simply materializes as, flesh and blood, an original idea by George Lucas, by the way, for the original scripts of Return of the Jedi, is because this one actually has a lot of explanations. Alright, it has a lot of things that they can explain that makes this possible. So to really put it simply, a Force Ghost, in this situation, Luke, is able to tap into the world between worlds. For example, maybe tapping into his former self, where he's alive, where he's, let's say, 40 years old. Let's just put an example out there. Then that vessel can travel to the current dimension, and Luke is alive and well, where he's actually within his past self as a body where he was alive. And that's interesting and all. It sounds like, it really makes a lot of sense, because let's face it, a Force Ghost or Sith Spirit, whatever have you, fully has the opportunity to take over a host body with ease, if they know how to do this. And it's interesting enough, though, that they're trying to make this work through the WBW, the World Between Worlds. And they are going to be setting a lot of ground rules for this, a lot of regulations to make this work, and to really make this happen, that's not going to allow any other Force user to do this. So, however, John and Dave are creating regulations that this is a power that can only be used once and temporarily, in order to prevent other usage of this from characters, and can only be used in extreme circumstances via permission from the Wills. Now, the backup plan of theirs is to simply have Luke's Force Ghost materialize as flesh and blood, an original idea by George Lucas, but John and Dave feel that that's too simplistic, from the original script of Return of the Jedi, of course. Now, Mark Hamill has already been informed about this plan for Dimension Essence, for the new Jedi Order series that is said to actually have a movie-like budget to make it very cinematic in appearance and value. Now, guys, to be very forward here, the new Jedi Order series is going to be considered a sequel to the planned new Jedi Order movie that's going to star Daisy Ridley, which, by the way, that movie in and of itself may or may not be getting cancelled. Bob Iger and some of the Disney executives are calling for it to actually either A, get cancelled altogether, or B, delaying this all the way until 2027 and to have Dave Filoni's movie come out first before it, in order to prevent any kind of backlash, to prevent any kind of momentum from dying off. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this power seems like it might be a little too complex, like I said before, but it could work. You know, explanation-wise and on paper, it sounds interesting. It sounds like it can be explained to the audience if they execute this very well. If they don't execute this very well, I think a lot of fans are going to be left wondering, why and how did this really even happen, you know? So the Wills is something that will be explored heavily in the new Jedi Order series, and John and Dave also are going to be exploring them in Ahsoka Season 2. By the way, the Ahsoka series is a big plan of theirs. The Disney executives, they want to make this a new flagship show. They want this to overtake The Mandalorian eventually, because they know that a lot of fans love the mythology. The Jedi, the Sith, the Dark and the Light, dark side users, Thrawn, stuff like that. Disney realizes that that's where the money is, and that's not to say that Mandalorian is bad, you know, apart from Season 3, or Andor, which a lot of fans love and hate, I've come to realize. But at the end of the day, the mythology, the core mythology of Star Wars, good versus evil, you know, everything related to the Jedi, the Sith, light side users, dark side users, stuff like that, is really where the full interest is, consistently by common moviegoers, casual fans, hardcore fans. I think it's the reason why even Kenobi, as much criticism that it really got a lot more attention than, let's say, for example, the Book of Boba Fett. So overall, I would love to hear what each and every one of you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments related to John and Dave's attempt to reverse Luke Skywalker's death and how it is coming out in full swing right now. So yeah, drop a comment below, fill me in below what you guys have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night